Hello YouTube. This week I've got the keys to a 2018 Subaru Outback. Let's take a look. So here's the 2018 Outback. So the Outback kind of sits above the Legacy, below the Forester kind of thing in the Subaru lineup. So Subaru has traditionally had the Legacy and then the Legacy wagon and then the Outback, which was based on the Legacy, the Forester, which was kind of their small crossover SUV thing. And so you can't really get Legacy wagon anymore, and so now you've got just the Outback. And so what it is basically a jacked up Legacy. You've got quite a bit of space. It's almost an SUV size at this point. It's not as small as it used to be. It used to be pretty small, the Outback. It was just basically, like I said, a Legacy wagon with some body cladding on it is what it was. This one here is powered by a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder horizontally opposed boxer, just like all the other Subarus, or pretty much all the other Subarus. It's $40,000 plus PEI and freight, so it's like 42 grand plus taxes Canadian. Pretty pricey. This is the Premier version, so it's pretty loaded. There is a 3.6 liter as well, a V6, or not V6, I guess, horizontally opposed 6. And so that one's even more money, but so this is your basically top of the line 2.5 liter. There's quite a bit of trunk space, as you can see here. And you've got a nice cargo cover as well. Kind of fiddly, I guess, but they're all like that. And you've got a ton of space in the back before you fold the seats down. And then if you fold the seats down, you just pull this lever and they just flop, which is really nice. You don't have to actually go around the car to get there. And then you've got this massive cargo area. So if you're looking for cargo space, you see it's got kind of a square opening. There's tons of room here. Subaru does a really good job of that. The Forester's the same. It's kind of boxy, and you get a ton of space. This thing will give you a ton of space for carrying stuff. And the door, as you saw, was automatic. So we'll pop that down and go take a look around the side. So as you can see here, brown leather. Like I said, this is the Premier. This is kind of loaded up. It's got nice brown leather here. And I don't believe there is another choice. That's the color you're going to get with this vehicle. You've got heated seats in the back on the outboard seats, and you've got get down here, 2 USB ports down here. So that's nice to have in the back. They've kind of thought of all the little things. You've got map pockets here as well, and you've got auto down windows for the back seat passengers. You're sitting a little bit higher than the front, so you kind of get that theater seating kind of view too, which is nice. You don't feel kind of claustrophobic back here. And then you've got sunroof up here. And this looks, if you saw my Legacy video, if not, take a look at my video of the Subaru Legacy 2018. You'll see that the front, the dash and all that kind of looks exactly the same, except this one is more high-end because the Legacy I had was more of a mid-range vehicle, and this is the higher-end version. So I'll go over the interior, same as I did in the Legacy. So, if you saw the Legacy video, this is pretty much the same. This one has a little bit more features. There is a heated steering wheel on here, so we've got that heated steering wheel button there. The rest is pretty much the same. You've got a parking brake, electronic parking brake here, and you've got hill hold. And then you've got your all-wheel drive mode selection here. Automatic transmission, a couple cup holders. Space for a phone or change or something. My phone fits perfectly there. Rather large cubby hole with auxiliary input, USB, and a 12-volt power. And then you've got an armrest here, which is somewhat cushy, kind of nice. And it's got a lot of space, and another change holder, and some kind of stuff holder. And then you've got quite a bit of space here, and another power outlet in there. And then, let's see here, you've got heated seats on both sides, automatic dual zone climate control. Apparently it's voice activated, so that's kind of cool. But, really, you're going to talk to this thing whenever you can just turn the dial. I don't know why you would bother spending the time talking to it and trying to figure out, it's trying, turn it to 22 degrees, whenever it just, turn the knob. Anyways, You've got your large display here, 8-inch display with backup camera and that. So if we turn that on, you'll see the backup camera in there. It's really nice. It's got cross traffic alert. So if there's somebody walking or driving on either side, it'll show that. And it'll beep at you for that. And this system here, the Subaru system, is pretty quick. And it works really well. It's got Android Auto and an Apple CarPlay built into it. So this works really well. And I'm enjoying it. On the steering wheel, you've got paddle shifters. There is a 7-speed faked gear ratio for the CVT transmission, so it is a continuous, very variable transmission. And I'll talk about that when I take it for a drive. But it does have these gear ratios where you can paddle up and paddle down if you feel like it. In here, you've got your standard display with your speedometer and fuel gauge. And then you've got your tachometer on the other side, and you've got your trip meter down here. And then you've got the config up here where there's buttons on the steering wheel for, and you can kind of flip through all these different menus in here and see your trip and your speed and then the navigation and that. So when you put it on speed and you're driving down the road, the digital speedometer, it'll actually show you what the speed of the road is as well over on the left-hand side here where it's blank. It'll show you, a little street sign with the road speed limit. So if you're not sure what the speed limit is of the road, you have that right there, which is nice to have. Also on the steering wheel, you've got volume control and your audio controls. And then you've got radar cruise control on the right-hand side, lane departure, and the distance setting and that for that. We've got a couple of memory seat locations here, 1 and 2 for the driver, and none for the passenger side. I should mention that there is now that I saw the logo and remembered, Harman Kardon stereo system, 12 speakers on this thing. I believe it was 500 watts or 500 some watts. Down here in the bottom, you've got all your buttons for blind spot detection, parking sensors, traction control, open the trunk and that, and dim the display. And there's also a button for the trunk. You can kind of set a max memory, so you can, if you only like to say you're shorter, you don't want it to go all the way to the top, you can set the max so that's not all the way to the top, and it'll always stop at a certain location. So that's kind of nice. This is, a nice wood trim with an aluminum trim underneath. It looks really, really good. It definitely is not, a basic Subaru or, an ugly interior of any sort. It does look really, really high-end. The armrest here is super squishy, so really, really padded. This leather is really, really nice. So overall, the interior is really well done. Definitely a step up. Subaru keeps getting better and better as far as their interiors go, and this is definitely an example of that. So as I said about the voice control, like I said, it's kind of funny. You can turn the knob or you can say it. So let's just try it. I can press this button here. Temperature 22 degrees.
I didn't get that. Let's try again. What temperature do you want?
22 degrees.
Okay, setting temperature to 22.
So it worked, and it's done that every time I've tried it. It says, sorry, I didn't get that. What temperature did you want? Which is funny because it got temperature, but it doesn't get the actual number until I repeat it. And then it said it. Like, really, anyways, I could have just turned the knob. It takes a lot less time. Don't understand that gimmick. All right, so up top, you've got sunglasses holder, and you've got your controls for your sunroof. And these mirrors here, they have 2 lights on them that turn on automatically. And these also, nicely, they slide out. So you get some extra coverage as well. So that's kind of nice to have. You got your nice slim mirror here with HomeLink on it. So this is auto dimming with the compass on it, and it's got the HomeLink as well for your garage doors. So why don't we take this for a drive, and I'll talk about that transmission a bit and then how it drives. So the one thing I did want to mention about this is CVT transmission, 2.5 liter engine, 175 horsepower, 174 pound-feet of torque. in my opinion, not quite enough for the size of the Outback. I drove that Legacy, again, you watch that video. I thought it was just okay on the Legacy. This is a heavier, larger vehicle, and the 2.5 struggles a little bit. I mean, it's not super slow. You're not going to be like, rear-ended or something, getting on a highway. You can get up to speed in that. It's just underpassing on 2-lane highways. You're going to really got to rev that engine up. And the other thing about revving that engine up, it sounds okay once it's warmed up, but man, oh man, when this thing is cold, it sounds like a bag of marbles or a bag of rocks just underneath the hood. It sounds horrible whenever you get on the gas when you first thing in the morning in the cold. Once it's warmed up, it's perfectly fine. It's quiet. Cruising now to 80 here, and 1500 RPM, just over 1500 RPM, and it is quiet and it's fine. So it's really just when it's cold. But it sounds like you're killing the engine whenever you get on the gas when it's cold. And then it's, as I said, it's got that, shiftable transmission and kind of downshift, hit the gas, upshift, and it works. But again, another gimmick for people that, if you're driving a CVT transmission, you're not shifting the gears. So if you put your foot in it, it'll go right up to red line in the CVT and then drop down. So it does rev up. The ride quality on this is really good. I'm surprised, actually. I thought it would be a little bit softer than the Legacy. When I drove the Legacy, I was really surprised at how soft the ride was. And then I got in this thing a couple weeks later, and I found it was just a little bit rougher over potholes than the Legacy was. Now, I didn't drive them back to back. I had a week between there. So maybe, perception-wise, it was a little bit different. But I thought this was a little bit harsher than I expected. Not much. But it does ride nice and smooth. It all depends what you're coming from all the time, as we'd like to say here in the industry. So it's quiet. It's smooth. It cruises well on the highway. It's really, really, actually, I guess I enjoy it. The one thing I don't enjoy, and I don't know why, and it's just me, it seems like, although my wife is kind of in the similar boat, every time we drive a Subaru, especially if it has leather seats, we always find that our backs are sore. And it's not while we're driving it, it's like the next day. And I drive a lot of cars, right? I drive a car almost every single week, or every couple of weeks I drive a different car, and it's like clockwork. I pick up a Subaru, I drive it home, and then I go to bed, and the next morning I wake up, my back is sore. And then I drive it all week, and every day my back is sore. And then this week I didn't drive it on Friday, drove my own car to work on Friday, and I got up Saturday, even Friday evening, my back was fine, and then Saturday morning, my back is fine. So I don't know. It's weird because I'm comfortable sitting in this seat, and I don't understand why I'm sore later whenever I'm comfortable sitting in it. So that doesn't make any sense to me, but I guess it is what it is. So this is a pretty rutted, bumpy road, and although I said, it's not quite as soft as the Legacy, you ride on here, you barely feel it. The sound of the bumps isn't transmitted too much into the cabin or into the chassis. It's kind of all absorbed, so it does that really well. It's not an inexpensive vehicle. You're talking $40,000, so the same price as kind of a mid-size crossover SUV from a lot of different brands. This does have the all-wheel drive, of course, but then, as I mentioned, it's got the small 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine in it. Well, there you have the 2018 Subaru Outback. One thing about fuel economy I'd like to mention, I averaged about 9.2 liters per 100 kilometers over the week with this, which is quite interesting because I drove the Legacy with the same engine and averaged just over 7.5 liters or so per 100 kilometers. So that's kind of proof that the heavier vehicle is not really helped along with that smaller engine. You might not get that much worse fuel economy with the 3.6 liter. Overall, though, I enjoyed the vehicle for the week. Really is nice. Tons of cargo room if you've got stuff to haul around. The ride is great. All-wheel drive, of course, with the Subaru all-wheel drive is very confidence-inspiring. Tons of grip in the snow. And, of course, never got stuck even at the end of my driveway where the plow went by. Easily just kind of drove over that hump. So take a look at this car. The Premier is, 40 grand Canadian plus taxes. And thanks for watching my video, and please do subscribe to my channel.